Hello everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here, and this is going to be a follow-up video to the recent video I did about this Creation Labs MK423 boost pedal. I was contacted today by the owner of Creation Labs, who had some choice things to say about my review of this pedal and my commentary. And I thought I would share that with you and just kind of respond, and also eat a little bit of humble pie here. So you're going to see from me some apologies to this company, an expression of acknowledgement of my own limitation when it comes to pedals, because I don't. You guys know I don't even feature many pedals on this channel. I don't use pedals. I very rarely repair them. And I don't think this might be maybe the second or third switch like this I've ever replaced, and I've never taken one apart or actually examined why it is one broke. This is the first time. I mean, when you do things on camera, things are a little bit different. Everything looks a little bit different. You start to consider things you don't normally think about. So, you know, when you're coming to this, especially from the outside, like if I don't design pedals, and I'm coming to something like this from the outside, I don't necessarily see this design and think, oh, this is something that everyone does. I look at this and say, oh, I wonder how I could do this better. You know, especially when I see one that's broken and that obviously has been broken, you know, for an obvious reason. As I showed in my last video, this switch, this is the original one that was on here. Now, in their defense, Creation Labs did not make this switch. They had nothing to do with creating this switch and making it the industry standard. Creation Labs did not design the way this thing would be put together. All Creation Labs did was they took an existing product, this switch, and they put it into their product, and they tried to use it in the way that, you know, it was designed for. They were never probably told by any data sheet or anything like that you needed to support the bottom, or, you know, it'd be best to put it on a really thick PCB board and put standoffs and support it from the top, or anything like that. You know, nobody tells anyone it would be best to do that with our product, usually, or it'll break. Because what incentive does this company or any of the factories that make these have to tell people, oh, you know, first of all, don't stomp on it too hard. Second of all, you know, you might want to reinforce the bottom of this thing, overly reinforce it so that it doesn't break. You know, they're not going to want to do that necessarily because they want to sell you a new switch down the road. So they don't really have an incentive to do that. This switch obviously is inferior. For the reason that I pointed out last time, there's no lip here to prevent this thing from going all the way in. And once again, Creation Labs is not responsible for the design of this switch and its inherent fault, which I still maintain it is a fault. It's a fault with this switch. Now, Creation Labs does seem to be correct. And actually, let me just read you the email, okay? And I'm sure this is not going to be something they will object to, because these are obviously their true feelings on the matter, and I can respect that. Hey Brad, okay, here we go. Let's just do it this way. Hey Brad, I wanted to touch base about your design flaw exposed Creation Audio Labs Clean Boost repair video. I know I could post this in the YouTube comments, but I have no desire to publicly embarrass you, so here's the gist. If the MK423 has a design flaw, then it is shared by nearly every true bypass pedal in the world. On this we agree. There is a flaw on every true bypass pedal in the world, and that's because they use an inferior switch on the pedals. Now, again, to be fair, if these pedals are using a switch with a lip on it like this, it is less likely to break or to wear out over time. But because of the way these are put together from the factory, eventually, if you stomp on this 30,000 times, it is going to wear. That internal piece is going to wear, or the contacts are going to wear down, and create metal filings inside. You know, something is going to cause the switch to fail. But most likely, what's going to fail are the way it's put together, the way it's press fit together at the factory. Okay, so this little top piece and the way it's fitted to the bottom piece, that is the most likely point of failure. And I would say, you know, let me continue. Okay, let's see. But anyway, yes, we do agree on that. That flaw is shared with every true bypass pedal in the world. I do not think this is something unique to Creation Labs. So let me, on this point, let me concede and say yes, absolutely. It was unfair to target them in that way. That really wasn't my goal, to target Creation Labs. I was, you know, I have viewers who like to see the innards of things and, you know, kind of discuss how they work, how they're put together, discuss how things could be better manufactured. That is kind of a running theme on this channel, and I beseech the gentleman who wrote that. I think your name's Ben. Yeah, Ben. I beseech you, Ben, you know, if you look at enough of my videos, first of all, accept my apology for appearing to single your company out, because, you know, that really wasn't my goal. My goal is to look at things that are poorly designed, and your pedal, again, now that I reconsider this, I don't think is the source of the poor design. Like you say, and I actually have I posted this in a forum on Facebook as well, where I was roundly ridiculed for not knowing what I was doing, and I said, well, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I admit, I do not fix mini pedals. This is not my forte. My forte is vintage tube amps and stuff like that. So this is not something I normally get into. The point I'm trying to make is, watchers to my channel know that, you know, this is a typical thing that I do here. We tear into things and we just kind of analyze how something could be put together better next time, so that it doesn't fail the same way. And I think the way that this has been fixed, regardless of what you guys think about, okay, it's not standard procedure to fix it that way. You're being a fucking idiot by tearing it apart. And, you know, I realize that. I realize it would have been much easier just to desolder this thing. But the other problem was, you know, I did not want to screw up this board trying to get this off, or risk, you know, messing up a trace or having a wire come loose and not knowing where the hell it was supposed to go back, because I don't have any documentation on this, okay? So it just seemed to me an easier thing to do, just to take that piece out and fit these back together, and then just epoxy the hell out of this on this side and that side, and then put a support underneath of some kind. And what I ended up using here was some hot glue. Where was I? Okay, they all use a 3-pole dual throw switch, just like the one you repaired. And repaired is in quotations. So he obviously doesn't agree that I did repair this switch. I contend that I did repair the switch. The switch actually is better than factory. This switch, because of the glue that's on there, I pressed it on after I had squeezed these contacts onto there a little better, and put the epoxy over the top. I don't think this is ever going anywhere again, but that's just me. I trust this more than I would trust one straight from the factory, especially since it's got the little lip on it. Now, I mean, you know, 30,000 switches later, we can come back and see, well, did it stand up or did it fail? So I guess the proof is in the pudding as far as that goes. But still, I'm in humble pie mode here, because I did unfairly target this company. So let's see. Okay, the repaired. The switch failure is indicative of either a faulty switch or abuse, i.e. being hit with a hammer. Well, no, I don't think this was hit with a hammer. I think it's somebody in the heat of the moment on stage. You know, it was coming up to that part they really love, and they just fucking stomped the thing, and, you know, and it just went straight down in there. So they didn't get their boost. They probably missed their solo, or, you know, whatever. But I don't think this was hit with a hammer. It wasn't that kind of abuse. It's just a flaw of the design. This doesn't have the lip, and it's a poorly designed switch. Again, not your fault. Creation Audio Labs didn't design the pedal to withstand repeated hammer blows. You're absolutely right, we didn't. We would have, but for some reason switch manufacturers don't offer 3PDT with hammer blow rating. Pretty funny. I can empathize here with the sarcasm, because this is kind of the way I respond to these sorts of things too, when I feel just morally incensed, you know. So I totally get it. I get where you're coming from, dude. I'm not out to get you, I promise. And you know, hopefully this video goes somewhere toward you know, bridging this divide. You haven't exposed a design flaw or a conspiracy. I don't know where that's coming from. It's just a broken switch. It's pretty rare, but it happens. And that's kind of the consensus I'm getting from everyone who makes pedals, that broken switches are pretty rare. I don't, you know, from my own experience with other broken switches, from old, you know, even old school switches, like just Carlings and things like that, the old ones, where they're designed nothing like this, way superior to this, and they're actually molded all together and not press fit together. Those do fail fairly frequently, and usually it's because they get dirt and grime and crap down in them. Now these, like I said, I'm presuming that the main point of failure is right here where these are fit together. But again, I do not repair enough of these to really know. They repair more of them, I'm sure, than I do. So let's see. I'd be surprised if we replaced even a dozen switches in the 10+ years we've offered the 423. And judging by the serial number, yours is from 2006. It's an old one. By attempting to repair, again in quotations, the switch, you've ensured its eventual failure by weakening the top plate fittings. No, again, I disagree with you there, because you're not in front of this switch. You can't feel the switch. So I don't think you can say that. I mean, even right now with just the glue, it works. It's fine. Works absolutely fine with the glue, and with having pressed these back together a little better. The switch is absolutely fine. Even without this, it's fine. And I would say better than the way it came from the factory. But let's see. And no, hot glue won't help for very long. I disagree with that. This hot glue actually... Hot glue is very good at keeping its form. And when you have a flat surface like that... Imagine like a surfboard on the ocean. You can put a surfboard down the ocean, and because you're spreading the weight around the surface area, a large surface area, it actually has buoyancy. Well, it's the same thing here. You have a large surface area here, this board, and when it presses against this, it actually supports the whole thing. So I don't think this switch will ever fail in the same way again. And you know, I can't say that for absolute certainty, but as long as someone leaves this in here, and as long as they don't go picking at this epoxy on the sides of the switch, I don't ever see it failing again. So in my defense on this one, I think you're wrong. But let's see. The best practice is always to replace switches. And I heard that again. I heard that also in the forum that I posted this on initially. You know, and here's the thing. Amp builders, amp repair people, electronics repair people, we're in a kind of a technical field. And it's a field where there are a lot of A-type personalities. There are a lot of very highly intelligent people, way more intelligent than me. And with a lot of experience, way more experience than me too. But sometimes when you do something and it is the industry standard, or I've been doing this for years, or this is the way I've always done it, you kind of get to the point where you don't self-examine. You don't look at the things you normally do and say, hey, how could I do this better? So instead of asking questions, you kind of get in a rut and you stop asking questions. You stop looking at things with fresh eyes and saying, well, maybe this could be a little bit better. Maybe if I just check my ego at the door for a minute, perhaps this dude who just came in, stage left out of nowhere, maybe he's got a little bit of a point, So that's kind of what you run up against sometimes, when you're talking tech shop with other techs who, again, especially the ones who are more experienced than you, and that goes for a lot of people who are more experienced than me, but sometimes we just don't self-examine. I'm guilty of that too. But in this case, I will put this switch up against a switch from the factory that hasn't been taken apart. You can hit this thing 50,000 times if you want. You can put it under a robot. I'll put this thing together. You get one from the factory that hasn't had these additional supports, and I will say this one will last probably twice as long as the other one. I mean, we could do that some kind of head-to-head Olympics style if you want to, but I mean, it's just, I'm just going by what I know from Newtonian physics here. I mean, just basic AP physics from high school. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if you support the thing from the bottom, and if you press fit it back on, and if you glue the hell out of both sides, reinforcing, the point of failure, it's going to be less likely to fail. So I get where he's coming from. He is right according to industry standard best practices, especially from the switch manufacturers, because they're not going to tell you, hey, as soon as you get this switch, the first thing you're going to want to do is to reinforce it because we haven't made it well enough. They're not going to fucking do that. So, just a little bit of self-examination and doing what I'm doing right now, eating a little bit of humble pie sometimes, can go a long way. Never attempt to repair them. Tension components were designed to be assembled once. Any subsequent disassembly or reassembly will lead to failure in the future. And, I do agree with that if I did not reinforce these pins, and if I didn't reinforce it from the bottom. He's absolutely right. Had I just pried these open, and fit them back on without doing any of these additional supporting measures, he's right. It probably would have failed sooner. The MK423, like all our gear, has a lifetime warranty. Now we're getting into something where, this is my fault. This is something I probably should have looked into because, again, that's not my standard thing. I don't usually look, well, does this piece of gear have a lifetime warranty? The same gentleman that brought me this pedal for repair also brought me 2 other pedals, and I didn't call the company or look it up and say, well, do these have a lifetime warranty before I started repairing them? So that I did not know. That's ignorance on my part, and I think that ignorance can be a little bit excused because I'm not an encyclopedia on who has a lifetime warranty for their products, but it's good that you do. I'm impressed that you stand behind your products in this way. I applaud you for what you're doing. And here's the other thing too. Anybody who watches my channel or has watched it for long enough knows that I'm super supportive of people who go out and build something, who make something, create something. They're not just sitting on their couches taking a check from from the man, and getting fat on beer and watching football games. I'm appreciative of the fact that you have built something. You are an entrepreneur. And you're obviously employing people as well. You're making something out of nothing, which is the essence of creation. And it's a beautiful thing. I don't want to kick you or anything like that. That is so not what I'm about. That's kind of where I'm coming from with the humble pie thing. I think I deserve to eat some humble pie here because that is not what I wanted to portray. That's not how I wanted to come across. That's not what I'm about. So if you got that impression, or if I left anyone who watches my channel with that impression in my previous video, I sincerely do apologize for that. Let's see. Okay, so they have a lifetime warranty. Instead of needlessly criticizing a small audio business, you could have just sent it to us to be repaired. Touche, once again. Audio Creation Labs is people. People scratching out a living in a shrinking industry, and he's making a very good point there. This industry is shrinking, and it's, I think, here's the thing. I think it's flooded with a lot, especially the pedal market, is flooded with so many people doing it. And some of them, some of them are subpar. A lot of them steal designs from each other. I do know that. It's just a really... it's kind of a gold rush in a way, because this is one of the few areas of the guitar industry that actually is going up. You know, acoustic guitars, I think, have gained in sales against electrics, and also pedals. Because you know, people can sneak pedals in past their wife, but they can't necessarily sneak a gold top Les Paul or something in past the wife. So, but what I'm getting at there is he's right. You know, it's people, and they're scratching out a living, and that's not something I should flippantly kind of take for granted or criticize or whatever. So, again, for that, I do apologize. Brandon, Alex, Gary, Michael, Mike, and Ben. All of you guys, I apologize to all of you for that. That's not, again, that's not what I'm about. We design, test, and build our gear by hand right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And when you cry wolf over something as simple as a broken switch, you hurt the people who design and build this gear. And you make yourself look ignorant to anyone who knows about pedal design. Well, I mean, I'm the first to say I'm ignorant about pedal design. And I think, again, in a way, though, that's kind of a virtue in this case, because it causes me to question, why has the industry accepted this shitty design as a standard? I mean, because frankly, this is a shitty design. If I was running a factory, this is what this boils down to. You are passionate about building this pedal, and I get that, and that's incredibly awesome. I'm passionate about looking at something like this and saying, how could this stupid thing that broke in this way be made better so that it doesn't break again? So this is what I am, and this is kind of what you are. So I think we're actually not talking at cross purposes here. We should be reinforcing one another, and not infighting or whatever. So, but that's where I'm coming from. So let's see. So we both lose, even if you get lots of views. And for the record, I don't think you're ignorant, except about pedal switches. Well, I appreciate that. I don't think I'm ignorant about everything. I'm ignorant about a lot of things. I'm ignorant about why my wife does, this. I'm ignorant why she can't pick up her own mess, or I'm ignorant about, why my daughter can't listen to me. I'm ignorant about why some people refuse to use their turn signals on the road. Just things like that. I'm really ignorant about. And I'm ignorant about a lot of things still dealing with electronics. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you that. But, this is a learning experience. That's what this channel's about. When I learn or I look into something like this, I'm taking an audience of who knows how many people are going to end up watching this. It could be 30, 40, 50,000 people end up watching this video of some dude in his basement, tearing apart a thing. And sometimes I take that for granted. And when I say something in a video, or I put something in a title like a design flaws exposed, I'm doing it to catch someone's interest who might just be passing by. A lot of times I'll put a lot of weird stuff in my video titles as well, like crap like, I don't know, Sean Connery finds the secret of the universe, or just stupid stuff. And I think I take it for granted that the people who watch my channel aren't just people happening by, that most of them are already subscribers. And I sometimes I make videos with the idea that people are already in on the joke or something, or they already know where I'm coming from or whatever. But that's not always the case. And I realize that, and that's something I need to work on. Let's see. But yeah, you're right. You are just people. I should not have done this flippantly. I should have reached out, contacted, and taken a step back before I made that previous video and asked, myself the question, who might I be hurting here, or do they have a lifetime warranty, or things like that. And I would have advised my customer who brought me this pedal to do something completely different. I would have just said, hey, just send this back to the company and they'll replace the switch for you. Which, again, I had no idea. I don't think the burden of researching whether something has a warranty falls on the guy that you take a pedal to fix. So, in the future, maybe I'll definitely know with this company in the future. If you have any questions about our gear, why like why we pot our circuits or why we chose one assembly method over another, just ask. I can go into even more detail on why the switch probably failed the first time if you're curious. I'll be happy to help any way I can. Well, I know why the switch failed because, like I said, someone was in the middle of they were coming up to their big moment in the show, in the solo, and this doesn't have a lip on it, so it doesn't limit the throw of this, so that when they stomp down on it in that moment of heated passion on stage, you know, they push this thing right through the floor. So that's why it failed. And it failed because of poor design on the part of the factory, or the designer of the switch type. Let's see. But yeah, I think that's it. And the takeaway from this, you know, Ben, I appreciate where you're coming from. Thank you for reaching out. This is, you know, this is something that I need to work on in the future. This is something, this is a flaw in the way that I conduct my business and the way I carry myself. I'm not always perfect. I'm just a human being. I've got a family too. I know what it's like to have your livelihood threatened. I know what it's like when people criticize you needlessly or from a place of ignorance. And that's no fun. It's not a good feeling, and I probably, you know, I realize now that I gave you that feeling, and for that I'm sorry. And you know, in the future, if I get any of your products, I'll just advise whoever brings it to me to contact you directly. To my subscribers and to my viewers, I hope this was educational. And to Creation Audio Labs, I hope you guys at least get some sales out of this. You know, I think if this gets passed around enough, I'm sure that you probably will. You do have other pedals I see on your site, so maybe some of my my subscribers will help me apologize by going and checking out your pedals, and if they are in need of anything, giving you a look. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed the drama. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and for now, y'all take care. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, Ben, there is one flaw on this that I did not cover in my previous video that you might want to consider redesigning in the future if you have not already. Again, I'm not familiar with your pedals enough to know, but these little press fit feet that you put in here, these little press fit nuts, this one popped out, and I'm not sure how secure the other ones are either, but if one of them popped out, you know, they're probably all a little bit prone. You might want to do something with just sheet metal screws into the metal next time, perhaps. That would be better probably than using using bolts. But anyway, that honestly, that's a constructive criticism, and I hope you take it as such. Anyway, thanks you guys. Later.